So a lot of guys have trouble staying consistent and disciplined when it comes to reaching their goals. And specifically in this video, I'm going to be talking about the goal of bulking up because that was like the problem that I had for a while and, a goal that I was trying to reach for a while. But you can really apply this to like a whole bunch of other goals that you have as a guy. Pretty much, we know the actions that we should be taking, but it's just hard to stay consistent and disciplined towards like doing that. So how do we actually go about making that process of becoming consistent and disciplined way easier? Well, in case you don't know who I am, I'm Neal. I've made the transformation from being the really skinny, unfit kid to now having a lot more muscle. And I make videos like this so I can help other guys to transform their physiques a lot faster than I was able to and enjoy a higher quality of life. So when it comes to like reaching any goal, a lot of guys will focus a lot of focus and attention on the logistical side of things. So when it comes to bulking, I spend a lot of time researching, what specific workout should I be doing? What muscle groups should I be targeting? How hard or like how fast should I be progressing? When it comes to nutrition, how many calories should I be eating? What should be my macro split when it comes to recovery? What are some like recovery methods so I can like recover faster, build more muscle, like whatever. We'll focus on the logistical side, but we fail to put enough emphasis on the psychological part, which I could argue like is probably even more important than like the logistical side of things, because you can have all the information in the world, but if you can't psychologically get yourself to take action, none of that matters. So the thing that you need to understand is that pretty much what drives all human behavior is just the pain and pleasure principle. If you aren't taking action toward the goals that you want to achieve, it's because the neural associations that you have linked up in your head, it's not optimized to take the action so you can actually reach the goal. So for example, if you're a skinnier guy, you're trying to bulk up, for nutrition, you need to eat enough calories, be at a surplus. And for workouts, you need to just do these hard workouts and be progressively overloading. Now, say we have a guy, we'll call him Henry. He wants to achieve the goal, but the actions are too painful for him. So on the nutrition side, he's used to eating a certain amount of calories, but it's just hard for him. And when he thinks about eating at a calorie surplus, it's like, oh, but my stomach will feel really full and it's going to hurt to eat that much food, or I just don't have the time and it's going to be an annoying, he just is so focused on the pain associated with eating at a calorie surplus. And same thing for workouts. He thinks to himself, well, doing the hard workouts is going to be hard. It's going to be painful. I'm going to be sore. If I'm in the gym, people are going to be looking at me and, it's just going to be this whole weird situation. And because of the neural associations that he has in his head associated with those actions that he needs to take, he's not able to take the action, let alone take the action consistently. So if we want to help Henry to make progress towards his goal, we just need to change the neural associations that he has linked in his head. We need to make it so taking the actions of, say, eating at a calorie surplus, we need to make it so there's less pain associated to that and more pleasure associated to eating at a calorie surplus and hitting his target. And same thing for workouts. So if you associate more pleasure to taking the action and less pain to taking the action that you need to, the level of consistency just skyrockets. So how do you practically do this? It's a 3-step process. First thing, you need to get leverage on yourself. Second part, you need to reframe the limiting thoughts and excuses that you get in your head. And the third part is just conditioning the new behaviors. And we're going to go through all this. So, pay attention, I guess. So in relation to the actions that you need to take, instead of focusing on the pain that you're going to get from taking the actions, because I can understand, when you're not used to eating a certain amount of calories or doing these hard workouts, it just seems painful to do all these things. But what we need to do is just change the neural associations that you have to that. So instead of focusing on the pain that you'll have from eating at a calorie surplus, instead focus on the pain that you'll get from not eating on a calorie surplus. So you'll say, okay, well, if I don't eat at a calorie surplus, well, I'm going to remain skinny. I'm not going to build the muscle that I want. I may not be able to build the physique that attracts a lot of girls and all of those things. Focus on the pain of not taking action. Same thing for working out. If you focus on the pain, if I don't work out, I won't be able to build the muscle that I want. I won't be able to get that physique. I'm going to lose a lot of confidence in myself and blah, blah, blah. And you don't just have to focus on the negative. You can also focus on the positive side. The negative does seem to be more impactful, but you need to have both sides. So focus on the negative and the positive. So focus on the positive, maybe, well, if I do eat at a calorie surplus, then I will bulk up and I will be able to reach my goal and I will be more attractive, at the end of it once I make my transformation. You want to come up Like, whatever the reasons, though, you want to come up with reasons that are important to you and significant for you. Because, you can come up with a whole bunch of reasons, but if they aren't actually important to you, it's not going to really, help you get leverage on yourself. So, yeah, just like keep that in mind. Second part is you need to start to reframe the thoughts and excuses that you get. So, say Henry, he's about to take action. He's about to eat at a calorie surplus, or he's about to go to the gym and do a workout. But before he actually, follows through with that decision, an excuse pops up into his head. He says, oh, well, it's just going to take too much time and I don't want to do it. Or, I'll just do it later when it's more convenient for me. The excuses are going to follow a similar pattern. And the thing is, these excuses stop us from taking the action. It's just this small little barrier because, our brains are just yapping at us and stopping us from taking the action that we need to. So what you can do to get past this is just to reframe those excuses or those limiting thought patterns that you have. So if you're about to go do a workout and, excuse pops into your head, oh, I don't have enough time. You can just reframe that into oh, I don't have enough time. Well, I'll just make enough time. Or say, you're about to do it or about to go work out, and an excuse pops into your head that says, well, I'll just do it at a later day when it's more convenient for me. Just reframe that and say, well, you know what? I'm just going to do it today so that if I do it today, I'll build that momentum and then it'll be more convenient for me to do, the day after. I mean, you don't have to focus on the specific wording that I'm using, but just reframe the excuses that you usually have. And that's going to make it so much easier because once that excuse pops into your head, you can just instantly reframe it and say, no, this doesn't make sense. This is the truth, not the excuse that I'm coming up with in my head. I hope that makes sense. Last part, after you've gotten leverage on yourself by associating more pleasure to the action that you need to take and less pain to taking that action. And after you've reframed the limiting thought patterns that you usually have, those excuses that come into your head, the last part is that you just have to keep conditioning the new behavior. The thing that a lot of guys don't understand is that when it comes to taking action towards your goals, the first step is usually the hardest part. When you're completely new to the gym and you have no experience going to the gym, essentially, the first step of just walking into the gym and doing your first workout, that's actually the hardest part. Once you get over that initial hurdle, everything becomes easier. Or same thing when it comes to eating at a calorie surplus. The first time when you're eating at a calorie surplus, it's really painful. Your stomach's really full, whatever. But after you do that, the next days after that, it just becomes way easier because, you're a little bit more used to it. You've already it's just way easier for you to do. So if you want to make more progress towards your goals and the action that you've got to take, you just have to understand this 3-step process. First, you need to get leverage on yourself, taking the actions in your head, is make it so that taking the actions is more pleasurable and less painful for you. And second part, reframe the limiting thoughts and excuses that you get in your head. And then third, condition the new behavior. So if you want to actually practically use this in a tangible way, what I highly recommend is that you just use a pen and paper, write it down, because studies show that when you use pen and paper to write stuff down, it just sticks in your long-term memory way longer than if you were to just think about it or just say it or something. But even if you don't, just try and use this in any way that you have. First thing, just think about the goal that you have. It could be bulking up, talking to more girls or making money. It doesn't matter what it is. After you have that goal, write down, okay, what are the major actions that you have to take? So for example, when it comes to bulking, the major actions that you have to take is just eat out a calorie surplus and make sure that you're doing these hard workouts and doing the progressive overload. So in relation to the actions, first you want to write down, so say, you're just focusing on the working out part. First, you want to write down, okay, why can you do this? Because, just by understanding that, yeah, you can do this, it just makes it a lot more helpful psychologically. And after that, you write down 5 reasons. Okay, what are 5 reasons why I will experience pain if I don't take this action? So if I don't work out, what are 5 ways that I will experience pain? And you might say, okay, well, I'll experience pain because, I'll be procrastinating and I won't have as much confidence in myself if I don't do this workout. I won't be able to build more muscle, whatever the reasons are for you. And then on the opposite side, you write 5 reasons why if you do take action, if you do work out, how will you experience pleasure? And it can be in the short term, long term, whatever, just 5 reasons that really mean something to you and will kind of motivate you, I guess. That's the leverage part. Second part is reframing your thoughts. So when it comes to actually making the decision and following through, usually there's going to be these common excuses. Like some common excuses for a lot of people could be like time. It could be that you just like don't feel like it, or you just like feel tired. So whatever like those common excuses are for you, because you probably have an idea of what they are, you just write down a reframe that you can use whenever that excuse comes into your head. So if I was about to go work out, or if I wanted to go work out and an excuse popped into my head that said, oh, well, I'm too tired to work out, I just want to like do it later, I can just write down a reframe and say, okay, well, if I feel tired and I have that excuse in my mind, I'll just reframe it to say, or I just reframe it and like tell myself, well, I'll just do it tired. It can be as simple as that. Just something so you can challenge that excuse and like reframe it so you don't give in to those excuses and you don't listen to that part of your brain that's trying to sabotage you. You have like your own, I guess, weapon to fight against those excuses. Last part is just you need to condition the behavior, keep taking action, keep pushing further and further, because the more you do it, the easier it will become. So like you can do it more and more. Like in the beginning, working out was hard for me because it was hard. I ended up getting sore, and it was like, just like this whole thing. I just wasn't used to it. But after I did it a few times, it's like, it became easier and easier to do. I just became conditioned, and like the neural associations of my brain changed, and I started to like working out, and I started to like eating at a calorie surplus. You just have to keep like conditioning the behavior, and it becomes easier and easier to end up reaching your goal. Now, if your goal is to transform your physique, you can click the first link in the description. It'll take you to my coaching offer. But remember, if you want things to change for the better, it starts with you. Peace out.